they will not. So it's right turn in only. Now you've reduced your queuing within the drive-through lane to about half.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought you were going to say flip the drive-through lane to the
Well,
other
that's what
side,
I'm almost
but then the
looking
car's
at
on the
it.
wrong side.
What I'm looking at here is something just isn't right. It's the way this is, you got people coming in here making a left onto King Street when you have your drive-through dumping out right as these people are entering.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to go now, people are going to be trying to make a left out of here because they could only now leave the Starbucks on Nichols Avenue.
Correct.
So now you have all traffic that's going to come in here, and it seems like you have pretty high traffic at peak hours. So enough cars coming in, enough cars trying to dump, that right there is safety hazard.
Okay.
Now you're coming through the parking lot, through a second parking lot, while you have other cars trying to enter this way, as other cars are going to try and cut through this way. It just seems
Okay, but
so much of a traffic mess in
If
this
I may,
parking lot.
if you flip the plan and you flip the drive-through, it's the same issue on the other side. It doesn't change anything. And then the car's on the wrong side
Well,
as far as the
again,
pickup will go.
you know what this is going to bring me back to? It's going to bring me back to location, like I said earlier.
Okay, well, I didn't pick the location.
Well, to me, this location is not working for this property, for this building. For what you want to do here with the drive-through, this is not the right location. It's not working for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Chairman, there's one issue, and as I said, I can't, I will certainly, I'm glad for Commissioner Fuller's bluntness, because I'd rather have an issue that I can talk to the client, see if the client can live with the condition, and then get back to you versus closing a hearing, not being able to talk to you, ending up with either you deciding you either deny it without prejudice, and then being an argument whether I'm changing it enough to come back within 6 months, versus continuing it a month, running it all the way up the flagpole, coming back to you with an answer that would restrict to a right turn only coming on to Nichols Avenue. I'm not a mind reader, but I'm pretty good at counting, and I can see one of the major concerns here, and practical concerns here, because the commission doesn't have in front of many experience with the intended improvements, which may solve all this, but it's a great leap of faith that you're being asked to accept, and I can go back to Starbucks and say, look, I'm not saying that this is going to make anything approved, but it'll certainly be an answer to a major question that a lot of the commissioners have, and it may not resolve all your issues, and it may not say in any way indicate that the commission's in favor of this, but it would certainly take one of the major issues off the board, and with that respectfully to go seek that answer, and I appreciate.
Can I offer that as a suggestion? You've heard the commissioners express their concerns with that left-hand turn.
Correct.
Okay. I will express my thoughts that the changes on King Street are actually an improvement. The earlier public hearing, we did hear that there was a concern, and I know I saw some letters from the residents who were concerned about traffic being pushed up through King Street. So I actually think the improvement on King Street to make it an entrance only was a great improvement. If we could look at some suggestion to make it a right-hand turn, pending any further changes that are from the state. The second issue is you have more information about what the state potentially might do for improvements than we have been communicated. And that is really the crux of it. We also don't have the confidence that we know when this is going to happen. We have enough experience that good ideas, funding, all that may not happen for some time. So anything...
Because Route 25 hasn't been extended to Danbury yet?
Yeah, really. So anything that you can help us
I understand.
with relieving our concerns or giving us some comfort level might also go a long way in addressing that. We probably would also be open to some ideas of looking at what happens with Booth. I know that's not necessarily in the realm of your project, but it does contribute to some of the congestion and confusion that is coming out of that. Lastly, have you worked with our engineering department and our traffic authority? Have you reviewed this with them as of yet?
I believe the police department has looked through it, and that's why they were here. Well, I don't want to say this, and better get to the highway quickly, but I don't know that they did the most comprehensive review. But we will have our traffic engineer
Okay.
talk to the city engineer once again.
I'd like to make a better recommendation. We have a traffic authority, which is where I would like for you to present this through and get their comments back. We have circulated through the police and the public works, and I believe we didn't get much in the way of comments back, did we? Okay. The traffic authority is a combination of both the public works, fire department, and the police department, as well as the town. The revised plans, giving them another chance to look at it, may also assist in terms of what their knowledge is about the projects from the state, and also maybe some opportunities to look at changes at Booth. How do you feel about that?
I feel very, I can see where the issue that the commission has, and I need to do whatever is necessary to make the commission comfortable that when they make this decision, that they're doing it without putting any of the residents of Stratford or anybody who's on Nichols Avenue at any further risk. So that's our charge, and that's what we have to do.
Do you have enough specifics to look at to be able to move forward and ask those questions to come back?
Pretty well. I've got my marching orders pretty clear.
Okay.
Can we ask,
Yes.
if we do approve with left-hand, right-hand turn only, is there any way that once the state puts in some new, an
Provisions?
extra lane or whatever, that they can change that entrance or exit, or
We
how
can
does
look at that
happen?
as one of our stipulations.
Not without your approval. In other
Again,
words,
you'd
your
have to come
condition
back to
runs
the-
with our land. Any kind of
It
modification
would be a stipulation.
to a special case would need your approval.
Mr. Fuller?
Yeah.
There's two ways to handle that. There's one way would be to prohibit right turns until the intersection is improved in such a way that would be conducive to left turn exiting. Or they could come back, we stipulate right turn only, and then they could come back in an administrative vote asking for some sort of 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, whatever it might be down the road, asking for a modification to the plan.
Both are acceptable. Those are some ideas,
Gotcha.
okay?
Now, and I guess, Jay, Mr. Bansky, the question becomes, I think I've previously waived any statutory rights to open, close,
I'm
and
not
make a
going to close,
decision.
I'm not asking to close the public hearing
Right.
today.
No. But what I would do is, if you want me to follow that up with a letter, I can do that. I would certainly waive it on the record tonight.
Before we say further,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
And that's what I was going to suggest, that on the record tonight, you waive the 65-day rule for us to, or the zoning commission,
Yes.
to render their decision until,
We meet again.
Right. I will make it clear for the record that the applicant hereby waives the 65-day rule to close the public hearing, and that we will do it as our charge to get you all the information that you've requested back in a timely manner for next month's meeting.
Thank you and accept it. Mr. Clare, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Mr. Urbanski and I had discussed that exact point. That's fine. I would just suggest perhaps if you have members of the public here that while the hearing remains open, maybe you want to canvass them to see if anyone wishes to comment.
That was my
You
intent.
don't have to come.
I have another question too, Madam Chair.
Mr.
What I don't see indicated on the plan, and maybe you can walk me through and help me here, is I don't see the outdoor seating.
That's on the red patio. There are tables and chairs. If you want, we can
It says, okay, so that the red patio is the outdoor seating. Okay.
At this point in time, I'd like to open up to the public and anybody who is in attendance. Would anybody like to come forward to speak in support of this application? Yes. Doesn't matter. You're welcome to speak. Just your name and address.
My name is Thomas Milas. I'm the owner of Shakespeare Veterinary Hospital, which is going to be across from Starbucks, if Starbucks is located there. So I have an interest in this. I've been in this same location for 33 years in Stratford, and I would like 33 years of accident reports rather than 3. I don't think that's enough. I think if you're going to go for trends, 3 years is not a trend, right? As far as more accidents or less accidents at that location. And I really don't think you guys should make any kind of decision unless you know what the state's going to do. We don't have any idea. He has ideas. He's got all the answers, but we have no ideas what the states are going to do. I have an interest in this as a citizen of Stratford. I've been living in this town since 1975. On Nichols Avenue I lived. And there's lots of traffic on Nichols Avenue. And I see accidents in front of my office all the time. I see people get hit coming out of my office, making a left-hand turn out of my office. So I see lots of accidents in this town. But I'm not categorically against Starbucks. All right?
Noted.
So I'd like more information.
That's exactly what we've requested as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question of the gentleman?
Yes, before you leave, there's a question
Mr.
from
Myers?
Mr. Fuller.
Mr. Myers?
Mr. Myers.
Oh, yeah, since you're a business owner of the Shakespeare Veterinary Animal Hospital,
Yes.
you probably see a lot of, you probably are the expert of that intersection. You see it every day.
There was an accident on Friday afternoon of this week. I don't know if it's on the report.
And my question to you is, ballpark it, just your general sense of being a business owner for 3 decades. How many accidents with injuries, well, I mean where an ambulance is required or paramedics are required, have you seen in 1 month or 1 year, whatever sort of block of time?
I can't tell you that.
Yep.
You should ask the paramedics, the EMS.
We actually
Don't
have it
think
in
it's
the
a very
report.
good location.
Yeah.
We actually do have it in our report,
Yes,
at least
and
for
it-
the last 3 years.
But
And-
that doesn't mean I'm against Starbucks.
And in your general sense, has it been getting better in the past 3 years? Was it like worse 10 years ago, or is it about the same?
3 years is not enough time.
Okay, thank you,
All right.
Mr. Bios.
But the other thing about what you were talking about making right and left side of it, it's a bad location. I don't know what the state can do for it. Let's find out. I'm not really against these guys. It's a business. I'm not against businesses. I'm not against more taxes for the town of Stratford. I'm not against anything. I just want to see how things go before I'm on their side. All right?
Thank you very much,
Well,
Mr.
thank you for
Myers.
entertaining some of my questions, too. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to come up and speak? Please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Prez Palmer, 44 Curtis Place here in Stratford. I am challenged to support this going forward, reason being because I definitely align with what Chairman Barrington Posner has stated, the traffic and the safety issues. My knowledge of Nichols Avenue is a very, very densely traveled road, and we have 2 schools in that proximity. We have Stratford High School, in which population growth is expanding. We also have Nichols School up there, where the population growth is expanding. And with those 2 schools, the traffic there, the traffic patterns, and what I'm seeing here with respect to the actual hours of operation is I'm seeing people on their way to work, but also people on their way dropping their children off. And with these, as the gentleman stated, these rear-end accidents or so, I'm seeing an increase, a high probability of increased rear-end accidents, because you have those young drivers who are going to be going to school there at Stratford High. You also have those young drivers who are going to be dropping their possible siblings off over at Nichols School. And they're going to abruptly say, well, before I get to school, let me go to Starbucks real quick. You know, you have that person who is going to the Merritt Parkway who says, oh, let me go to Starbucks real quick. You also have that person going to I-95 down the way, let me go to Starbucks real quick. And be it a left turn only or right turn only, it is a perfect storm for accidents. And then furthermore, what I'm seeing is you're now seeing also a neighborhood there at King Street disturbed, because if they have access to go up King Street and into Starbucks, it once was a quiet, rarely traveled road, but now it's going to be further congestion there. So I definitely do support research by the traffic authority and further analysis of the potential impacts on safety and the traffic patterns. And also, I'm looking to see how it would affect the busing situation of our students here in town. So for that reason, I'm challenged to support this going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is anyone else who would like to speak? Thank you.
Casimir Mazira, 185 Boston Avenue, with an interest in 743 King Street. First of all, with this petition, something I noticed tonight, what the gentleman said, was that they were basing their data on a coffee shop drive-through. If that's the fact, then that would require that this petition be changed, because as he stated, there's a restaurant drive-through and there's a coffee shop drive-through, and a restaurant is more intensive than a coffee shop according to his state traffic data. Number on the agenda tonight, number 2, reads to amend section 6.1 of the zoning regulations by adding restaurant and drive-through restaurants with outdoor seating as permitted use in an LB district. So I think that the attorney might have to look into that to start with. Just a practical look at the property that exists, Starbucks right now. We can make the assumption, I think, that what they're looking to do is increase business, and that's great. You know, I'm not a Starbucks fan, but they've been good taxpayers. Merrill Anderson, they've been good taxpayers, and you want that business to come. But if you take a look at the current property and Starbucks, you're going to be generating at least that much traffic that goes there now onto a much smaller footprint. And the difference is, if you take a look at it, is that the current Starbucks has 6 egresses and entrances. You can have 3 of them. There are 3 turns you can make off of Barnum Avenue. You can make an entrance on Curtis Avenue. You can make it on the dead end from Frederick Street, where I usually come through. And you can also make one on King Street, coming up, heading north on King on the one-way section. So essentially, you're taking all the traffic generated in those 6 entrances, and you're filing them into 2 areas on King Street and going north on 108. Just the other day, and this is anecdotal, but this happens quite often. I was on King Street behind the high school. It took me 3 lights from the single position. I was the first in line. I couldn't get across to go up to see my mother on North King Street. Had to take a right, come all the way across. Why? Because somebody was already blocking that intersection. Take all those cars and funnel them up King Street, funnel them up 108, and you're taking all those cars that come in those 6 different entrances and you're putting them into 2. Not only that, but when Starbucks leaves, something else will go in the Starbucks place. So the traffic generated up King Street into the entrance of the gym is going to essentially stay the same. So you're going to have the same traffic there. You're going to take the 6 entrances, the traffic generated on the 6 entrances, and you're going to funnel them into 2 spots. That in an already congested area. I mean, I can't see this thing working. I hate to say it. The only way I could see it working if you made a smaller building and located the building actually on the north of the triangle with a drive-through through the back. Perhaps you could do that, but even that would have its limitations. Don't forget, as you come over King Street now, you're going to be having an entrance to a right to the gym and whatever business is, the pizzas who take over there, and you're going to have an entrance to the Starbucks. Not only that, but Starbucks I think we can make the general assumption that if you're ordering 4 lattes, it's going to take a little bit longer to get those the beverages, whatever, than a regular coffee at a regular shop. They're intense. They're in this. If you take a look at the Dunkin' Donuts in town, all of them have a place you could pull off, so they can get the people out of line. Hey, we'll run somebody with the order out to you. They'll bring it out personally. Get them out of the line because something was too complicated. It's going to take time. That's something that has to be addressed too. But I would love to see them come here, but I just can't see it happening. I mean, unless they bought 2 more building lots to the north of it and added into the thing. But that's not the petition tonight. But I wish them the best of luck, and we'll go from there. I'm sure we'll see you again.
Thank you.
I didn't catch your name.
Casimir Mazzira, 185 Boston Avenue.
Thank you.
Anyone else? At this point, we seem to have slipped from support to opposition, but at this point, is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against?
Hi, Tom Galati, 492 King Street. I was really against this proposal with the driveway, double driveway on King Street. I was a little happy to see it would be an entrance only. However, you're going to filter everything over onto Nichols Avenue, and you're going to have a mess over there. And, not having a left-hand turn onto Nichols Avenue, that's a good thing, but I don't think the Starbucks customers are going to, be happy with that. And what Mr. Palmer and what Mr. Mazzara said, I basically saying the same thing as they are. And I hope you do kick this back to the traffic authority and DOT. And I'm not against Starbucks. I'm against putting any type of drive-through at that location. It's a bad location for a drive-through, and it's not. I'm anti-Starbucks. You could put anything there, I wouldn't be happy. But if you look at the current drive-throughs that we have, the 2 McDonald's on Barnum Avenue, you have Burger King, you have the 2 Dutches. You have the Dutches on Lordship Boulevard. You have the 2 Dunkin' Donuts. There's no houses. There's smaller traffic. Lordship Boulevard is a wide road. This is just far too congested. And same thing with Stratford High over there. My concern is, these kids, when we went to school, we walked down to school, we walked with our heads up, we carried our books. These kids nowadays, they got the backpacks, they're leaned over, they got the thing in their ears, and they're doing this. And they're not going to see the cars coming in and out over there. And it's like Mr. Posner says, it's a safety, it's really a safety issue over here with pedestrians and congestion and left-hand turns and everything else.
Anything else?
So kick it back to the traffic authority.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to, before we're not going to, what's the proper term, to recess this?
There's, Madam Chair, before you do close the public speaking, I think there's another speaker, but also I have a few letters to read into record that I've been asked to read into record from people opposing it.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? And then we'll come back and we'll read
Thank
the
you.
letters in the record.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Walter P. Rimkunis, 425 2nd Avenue. This area is too congested with vehicle traffic to support any type of vehicles coming on and off into this area. If you use the King Street entrance coming on, in order to get to that takeout, you got to make almost 360 degrees all the way around that building to get your latte or whatever you get it. I don't know, I don't frequent it. But then you got to go out onto Nichols Avenue. That don't seem right or enjoyable for anybody. I see, looking at the diagrams here, with the traffic, I've come up and down it a lot. I do some things up on North Nichols Avenue, and it's a bottleneck. half of the time. It's a bottleneck. You come up King Street, try to get across, it's a bottleneck. Coming down Nichols, trying to get over to King Street and go back at the high school, that's a pain in the neck. Then you got people trying to get into that side street, right across from almost where their entrance and exit is going to be. They're stopping there. They're stopping traffic going north. How much longer you're going to get? And then you're going to have people coming across Nichols Avenue into their entrance. And I know you want to hurry me up, but this is another bottleneck. I believe this is not the site for a drive-through restaurant, period. One more thing you got to think about. Don't forget, they're renovating Stratford High School. Where are all the kids going to go with the buses? What's the name of the street? King Street. You're going to have buses coming down Nichols Avenue, down and up across Route 1, trying to get all into there. And the state is going to come, please them. I'll come in just a second, Steph. And please them, but we have to have it fixed for us. I say, no, it's not a position.
That's where I was coming at. Okay. We have some letters to read into the record.
Yes. Okay. I received letters from constituents that asked me to read these into record. The first one is Christine Nuno.
The address?
Here we go. I don't have an address, but I'm going to read it.
I could attest she's a Stratford resident.
She's a Stratford resident. My name is Christine Nuno. I am one of the owners of Chrissy's Corner. I was born and raised on Wyoming Street, which is up the street from the Merrill Anderson building. I have seen the horrible traffic congestion at the golden hours when school starts and lets out, and now days all day. I feel that if a Starbucks drive-thru were to open, my restaurant would suffer because parking is an issue and will definitely get worse. I also feel that with King Street being a residential area, it wouldn't be good for the homeowners and all of the through traffic. That was the first letter.
You can stamp those and send them forward afterwards.
I haven't read these yet, okay?
Excuse me?
This is the first time I'm reading these. I
Oh,
haven't
okay.
read them, so.
Just afterwards, just make sure you stamp it and send them forward for the record.
Okay, dated August 28, 2016, 57 Nichols Avenue is the address. And, okay, ready? The name is in script. I'm going to try and read it out. It's to whom it may concern. Oh, here we go. I, Benoni Barrios, owner of the property situated at 57-59 Nichols Avenue, Stratford, Connecticut, are resident at the same location, opposed to the requesting made by Merrill Anderson Company, Inc., Sherry Frank, and Burns Family Limited Partnership to 443 King Street, change zone from an RS4 to an LB district. 1166 Barnum Avenue to amend Regulation 6.1 of the zoning regulations by adding a restaurant and drive-through restaurants establishment outdoor seating. 2278 Main Street for a special case required to allow, oh well, we got a lot going on here. Allow a psychic and life coach business in an RS4 district and or any other requests to which can make King Street, Barnum Avenue, and Nichols Avenue traffic dangerous to pedestrians, students, private garage entrance and exit, and turning cars traffic. As more than 11 years resident at this location, my family and I watched many car accidents in these intersections. We disapprove and disagree with anything which can bring our students more dangerous car traffic. Okay, so this seems like it was in opposition to a few applications. Here's the next one. Okay, bear with me on this one. August 20, 2016, regarding redevelopment of Merrill Anderson property, corner of Barnum Avenue, King Street, Nichols Ave, Starbucks with drive-through service. My name is Charlotte Lutka.
Mr. Posner, I have a suggestion.
This is very hard to read.
Okay.
You better read it.
And I commend you for your effort to work your way through it.
I am going to read it because I was asked to read it into record, and they
Okay.
weren't. This lady.
Before you finish, let me offer this. We have an alternative.
Yes.
The office, the zoning office, has offered to scan them in and send them to all of the commissioners as a formal part of the record, so that we all can read them, and they will be recorded, and it would allow us all to look at it and save you from struggling through it.
Yeah.
They would be formally. I'd ask that you consider that.
Yeah. You know what though? When a constituent asks me to do something, I'm going to follow through and do it. That's what I said I would do.
Mr. Posner, I'd appreciate it if this would. I understand,
would like
but
to
this
follow
would be.
Thank you. My name is Charlotte Lutke. I reside at 473 King Street for the past 62 years. My health conditions keep me from appearing in person to protest the proposed change to the property named above. I have many objections to this plan, the biggest being the increase in traffic to the King Street and an already narrow one-way street. What about delivery trucks? King Street is already designated as no trucks. Where will their trucks park? And traffic will be a constant. Near me, where in waiting cars and trying to leave Barnum Avenue has 6 lanes of traffic that flow onto King Street and Nichols Ave and Barnum Ave itself. Have you ever witnessed traffic at the intersection of Nichols, Barnum, King Street? Take a look. You can.
Mr. Posner,
Depend on.
you're not doing service to the
I
applicant.
understand I'm not doing a service. I told them I would. If you want to scan it at this point, it's
Yes,
very-
I'm going to insist, because it's not doing a service to them or to us.
But all 3 of these letters, I just want to say, are in opposition. They were handed to me. I just want them put into record for the constituents that
And
them.
be commended for
Yeah.
for reading it to us. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to ask a motion to, well, before we table it, I do want to clarify and summarize very quickly. Clearly, there are some concerns about the right-hand turn out of the property. We've given you some the right-hand turn. That seems to be the stumbling point. We understand that the attractiveness of this property is the high volume and the congestion. It is my hope that you are able to look at a solution and come back with something that would be maybe more acceptable to those concerns.
Commissioner, I just want to thank you for your patience and working through with the Senate. Hopefully we can solve your concerns. If we can't, in any event, I just want to thank you.
Okay?
Wait.
Thank you
I
very
do
much.
Actually, after usually the public comments,
I have to ask for a table to motion.
If I may,
The next,
if I may
don't
just
we usually?
suggest
Aren't we usually able to question again after comments by the public?
we are going to not close the session, and
It'll
Mr.
be-
Clear.
But I do have
Be a
more questions.
continuance.
Okay, 1 second.
I had a different, my point was a little different. I was going to suggest that this not being tabled, but actually postponed till a date certain, so that everyone knows when it's going to be the next meeting, so that.
For the next regular meeting.
Otherwise, if it's tabled, technically, it's just going to sit on the table, as opposed to postponing it by agreement to a date certain, that being a certain date
we
where
have
it
enough
definitely
date
will
to
be on
do
the agenda.
The October 25th?
It's
Mr.
okay.
Post, I'm going to ask you to hold your
That's
question.
okay with the applicant's attorney.
Because we are going to hear this again on October 25th.
Yes, we'll agree to October 25th.
October 25th?
Yeah, and as a courtesy, I will tell you, if we can't get the Starbucks to agree to some kind of revision that we think will be acceptable, we'll withdraw the application so we don't end up, and I'll notify Jay beforehand. I don't want people to come out if they don't need to.
Okay. Then I will, what's the proper term?
Someone would have to make a motion to postpone till a date certain, with the date
Yeah,
certain
Madam
being
Chair.
October 25th.
Mr. Fuller?
2018.
Yes, I'll make the motion to postpone the particular, the three petitions for
October
the Starbucks
25th.
application till October 25th or otherwise specified date.
Thank you very much.
I'll
Motion,
second.
second by Ms. Peppin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair accepts. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. And thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Madam Chair, motion to close public hearing?
I second. Motion.
Motion to close public hearing?
No, we're going to roll through. We're going to roll through. We don't need a recess. You ready to roll through?
Motion to close public hearing first.
Second.
I
Are you seconded?
Second.
Yeah, Commissioner Peppin had the first second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The first item on the agenda that we heard was 900 Access Road, sorry, the 533-541 Honey Spot Road. Motion to take it off the table, is that what you had?
Point of order, we still haven't technically closed public hearing.
We didn't close public hearing, we postponed it.
That's for the particular agenda item, not for the public hearing tonight.
Didn't you just?
We just
Yeah, but we
postponed.
didn't vote on it.
Oh, we didn't vote on it.
Mr. Clear, do we need to have a vote to postpone a public hearing?
We did that already. Which item we talked about?
Oh, yeah, we actually did agenda. You motioned it, I'm sorry. Ms. Peppin seconded. We did vote to postpone the public hearing until October 25th. So now we are closed in that. Not closed, but that we're done with the public hearing.
That's a different motion. The motion to postpone was for the triplicate Starbucks application. Motion to close the public hearing is for anything that was on the docket tonight.
Would you make a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes, I'll make the motion to
Well,
close
actually,
public hearing.
we're not closing the public hearing, to be clear, on 1, 2, and 3. Those
We're
public
not.
hearings.
Yes, to be clear that
I
the
think-
first three agenda items
I
have been
think the
postponed.
practical effect is, since you've closed the hearings on 4 and 5, and you've postponed and continued the hearings on 1, 2, 3, you have no further business on your public hearing agenda. Therefore, that meeting is adjourned, which I believe the chairman did, and now you're starting your executive session.
Correct. Mr. Fuller, do you understand the
Well,
explanation
that's
from?
the first time that's ever happened on.
So do we make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn public hearing.
That would be the appropriate. Your motion to adjourn your public hearing meeting.
Motion to adjourn the public hearing is, may I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
Motion to adjourn for the fifth time.
Second.
Second by Ms. Peppin. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair
There-
votes yes. Thank you very much. Motion passes.
Thank you. There being a difference legally in adjourning a meeting versus closing a public hearing, which we now know. So,
Thank you for the help. All right, starting back where I was, the first application we heard was 533-541 Honey Spot Road.
so to be clear, you've called
We have
into
to call
order
order.
your public administrative, your administrative session. And there
Thank
being
you.
no business on the first three items, you're moving to the first one that was considered a public hearing for 533-541 Honey Spot Road.
Well, it was the first, so
Was Is that the one you're doing first, just so everyone knows? Are you doing,
in the order that they were presented.
okay. So 533.
So the first thing we have to do is have a motion to take it off the table.
Actually,
You need to call
can I make a motion to change the rules to take it out of order? And can the applicant for the Burns 900 Access Road is still sitting back here waiting? And I'd like to take that one first.
We are. Oh, no, well.
No, we're taking Honey Spot first. Can we take the other one first?
No, let's just take in the order that we have
Okay.
presented. It won't take us.
I didn't think we should wait or make her wait any longer.
We should first call the administrative session to order.
That is the first thing. We're calling the administrative order. I have done that. It is called to order. The first application needs a motion to take it off the table. Do I have a motion to take the first application that we have heard, 533-541 Honey Spot Road,
I
off
make
the
the
table? Motion by Ms. Pepin to take it off the table, second by Mr. Fuller. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Motion passes. Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. Discussion.
Madam Chair, the staff comments on that, I think we need to go right straight through with. I mean, there was something there to find out about the trailers in between. There was a building there that needs to be looked at to make sure if that's right. I like your comment before about the trees in the back for them people, and plus the grass being taken care of.
Mr. Urbanski, would you like to walk us
Wait,
through?
Just if I may, you've taken it off the table. I think you need a motion to either approve or disapprove it in a second, then you should discuss it in that order.
Thank you. I'd like to have a motion. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve or disapprove?
Wait, in the past, we've always, if we've taken something off the table, it was for discussion purposes. We didn't have to make a motion right away to approve or not approve.
Yeah.
You really should under Roberts because you have nothing before. You've taken something off the table, but there has to be a motion to be discussed, rather, technically.
So we make a motion to discuss it, but we don't.
It should be a motion to either approve or disapprove. Then you have your discussion. If someone then wants to withdraw their motion, or if someone moves to approve something, for instance, you talk about it. Just because you move to approve doesn't mean you have to vote that way. It could be everyone opposed to it at that point.
I don't think we've ever done it that way. That's why I'm.
Yeah.
Oh, you know?
And that was done even prior to my time on the commission and Commissioner Pepin's time on the
Am
You
I
wanna follow
correct
your
on that?
tradition. I'm just following Roberts, whatever you'd like to do.
I think
That way for 12 years.
we've been accustomed to just discussion, and then from that discussion, we make a motion, so let's continue. The last comment was from Mr. Giuliano was he had asked to review the staff comments. Mr. Urbanski, did you have any staff comments that you wanted to walk us through?
Well, other than the staff comments that I wrote and that were sent out in everybody's packets, I mean, I think we all kind of hit on, or you all had already hit on anything that I've already suggested, was to either remove or legalize the tractor trailer with a roof over it structure, either legalize it or remove it. Truck stored in the rear half of the property, not along the frontage, along Honey Spot. No outdoor storage of materials, which I think they've made pretty clear that they don't intend on doing that. To maintain and clean the strip of grass along Honey Spot, as well as McKinley. The parking lot could recommend the parking lot be at least striped, if not repaved in the near future. And then there was your suggestion of the trees to the,
The border trees between the property and the residence, the back border trees.
for trees
them-
to be planted or
No, maintenance.
maintained? Okay.
Mr. Giuliano, does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Could we take, if they're not those tractor trailer things, I'd like to see those things. They're damn ugly, to be perfectly honest. They're a blight on that property. They're an eyesore. If they're not permitted, take them down.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fuller, I didn't understand which,
Those tractor trailers.
oh, the tractor trailers.
Yeah.
I agree with Commissioner Fuller on that. They're not part of the structure, and unless they can be legalized, they should be taken down.
I think it's doubtful that they would be legalized. as
Legalized.
part
I
of
think
the
they should, I think
structure.
that should be a condition. I think they need to go.
I believe he mentioned it in his list of, Mr. Hibansky did list that specifically
Yeah,
in
I saw
his
that
notes that he just walked through. Anything else? Any other questions? Are we prepared to vote? Would anybody like to make a motion with the stipulations that were read by Mr. Hibansky?
I'll make a motion to approve with the stipulations that were just read to
I'll
by
second it.
Mr. Haban.
Motion by Ms. Peppin, second by Mr. Giuliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. The next property that we listened to was 900 Access Road. Anybody like to take it off the table?
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano,
Second.
second by Mr. Posner. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Anyone opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. Mr. Giuliano.
I'd like to make it motion to all the staff on that be put into that piece of property with all the rain garden, we have no idea what's going on with the drainage, and let them handle that all on.
So you would like to accept the property with all the recommendations as put forth by the conservation and the town engineer, with the supervision of, with the approval of the zoning administrator.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr.
May I
Posner.
offer a friendly amendment?
Yes?
In addition to staff comments with the Conservation Office giving us thorough, I guess, the official tailgate review, and the Building Department and appropriate public safeties, I'd also like to, since this is a food establishment, I'd like to see a Health Department review. That's usually pretty par for the course for any sort of health food establishment, and a fire marshal, just to make sure everything's compliant with all the appropriate boards.
I believe that is part of the earlier recommendation, and they did not return any comments in the original review as well. So we can include that as per, what's the standard language on that, per normal regulation of departmental review?
Yeah. I mean, they won't be able to get their restaurant license without getting a health department review. All those things already happened in the process to them opening.
They have to be compliant. Does that satisfy?
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes we explicitly reinforce that when we stipulate.
Sure.
Can I just make a comment before we vote?
Absolutely.
I just thought that they came with this project knowing ahead of time what to do with the land around it, and I applaud that. I mean, I think they took consideration about the wetlands, inland wetlands, is that what they call them?
Tidal wetlands.
Tidal wetlands.
And I applaud them.
I'm sure they'd be appreciative to hear that. With that, I'd like to call this to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes yes. Anyone oppose? Motion passes. Thank you.
Congrats. Best of luck to you.
Welcome back, Cricket.
Yeah.
Okay, the next three items we have postponed to October 25th, and we will suspend any further conversation on this property unless there's someone who'd like to discuss it beforehand. We don't have all the information. We've left them with getting some more information. It would be prudent to wait till they return.
I concur. I think we had a pretty thorough discussion during hearing.
Okay. Is there any other business that we need to discuss? Otherwise, I'll ask for an adjournment.
We do have all the stuff on the administrative agenda.
We're not.
Oh, the administrative agenda, that's right. It's getting late. We have about an hour. At this point, we'll move into the administrative agenda. Thank you. Yeah, we got a busy agenda. What was
No, that was the first one. I'm sorry. We did. Yep. Had me double thinking. Yep, we did.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of September 13th.
Motion made by Mr. Posner,
I second.
by Ms. Peppin. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Anyone oppose?
Point of order,
Thank you.
I just can't be counted on that vote. I was absent, so it'll be a 4-0.
Be the aforementioned. Gail, you can make a note of it. Motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, on our plans, we have the final plans that were submitted to us from 335 Ferry Boulevard. Mr. Hibansky, you want to take us through that?
Sure. Upon the approval granted on March 22nd, 2016, the Zoning Commission required as conditions of approval that final plans be submitted with building elevations, the detailed landscaping plan, a detailed lighting plan, a letter to the Office of Public Works requesting for the sidewalks along East Broadway to be addressed. We have that letter here. The applicant must also provide details on how parking will be assigned or presented for future residents when signing the lease. We have that document here. And the project must strictly adhere to all codes provided by health, fire, police departments. So they've submitted all the required documentation. They have the elevations, landscape plan, lighting plan, as well as all the letters.
Are there any major changes from the original plan other than those stipulated that we requested?
No changes.
No changes. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
Nope. This is pretty routine, final site plan.
Pretty routine. If not, may I have a motion to accept?
Motion, so moved.
I'll
By
second.
Mr. Fuller, second by Ms. Peppin.
Roll call.
Roll call has been requested. Mr. Posner?
No.
Ms. Peppin?
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes, Madam Chair.
The chair votes yes. Motion passes 4-1. Campsite review, number 3. We have Lordship Boulevard and 900 Access Road. Mr. Hibansky?
Okay. So first, I'd like to read into record per request from Carol Szymanski, environmental analyst for the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. Thank you for referring the coastal site plan review for us to review and comment. The lot is 12.01 acres and is in an AE 14 flood zone, not an AE 12 flood zone as described in the narrative. The site is located in an LIMWA area, which stands for Location of Moderate Wave Action. A 137,700 square foot warehouse is proposed for the site with 175 parking spaces. However, the first floor elevation is proposed to be 14 feet. If a 1 foot of freeboard is required, the first floor elevation should be a minimum of 16 feet in an LIMWA zone. Coastal resources on or near the campus development project should include coastal hazard area, tidal wetlands, inland wetlands, intertidal flats, and shorelands. Stormwater from the site is proposed to be discharged to an existing on-site retention pond to maximize infiltration of stormwater. Roof leader drainage will be separated out. While the percentage of impervious surface has not been identified on the site plan, it appears that most of the site will be impervious surface, either the building itself or the parking. Most of the area on the west side of the building is proposed for blacktop, but seems to be wider than what might be necessary for truck traffic. If possible, the proposed blacktop area on the west side should be reduced in width to the minimum required for safety and convenience. On the east side of the building, pervious surface parking options should be explored. The silt fencing and the anti-tracking pad should be installed before any site disturbance occurs. Site plan deficiencies, elevations of the building have not been provided, so it's difficult to determine whether the building will be constructed in conformance with the flood zone AE standards. Conclusion, we hope that these comments are helpful to the Commission pursuant to Section 22A 110. We request that these be read into the public record. If you need any further assistance, you may, or have any coastal management or Long Island Sound related matters, please feel free to contact me. So basically, the application is for 137,700 square foot shipping, warehousing, a distribution warehouse facility along Lordship Boulevard. This plan was essentially previously already approved in 1999, which requires them, as a planned economic development, which requires them to come back administratively for the coastal area management application, which is why we're here today.
Yeah, one.
That review seemed to make some recommendation of changes. How do we handle those changes that they're requesting, given that most of it has already been done?
Well, this site hasn't actually been completed.
Okay.
This is their new proposed site.
Whereabouts is that, Jay? Can you put me in perspective next to FedEx?
It's
That
on-
would help.
It's on the corner of
Access Road and Lordship
Next
Boulevard?
to FedEx, isn't it? Next
Is this
to
going to be
FedEx
another
property?
FedEx monstrosity?
It's next to the FedEx property, isn't it?
Didn't even go before zoning.
The entrance to this site would be at the end of, what is it, Wood End?
It's
Yeah.
right
In
before it then and across from it, yeah.
Directly across from
So they're
Wood
gonna use their own retention pond, not the one in front by, I mean, this thing is like huge.
End. It's a big facility.
I mean, it's got its own, I mean, there's a retention pond there already, there's one for FedEx, there's a lot of it's big, it's a lot of stuff to fathom right now.
We
I
should
mean,
go to
we
a
should,
public hearing.
I agree with Commissioner Fuller, public hearing.
And the reasons,
too big.
justification?
It's too big.
How many-
130,000 square feet.
there's a lot involved too. I mean, we have the
And
wetlands,
first
the
approval,
salt
did you say
marsh.
the first approval was in 1999?
9.
So we're talking, what, 17 years ago? Yeah, I think it's time for another public hearing.
And
That's
there's
a long
changes.
time. There's a lot of changes.
I'm not sure you can require another public hearing.
Then I'm not supporting this CAM.
I mean, even in their book they gave us, there was
But
everything.
before we,
have to look
let's,
into it,
let's
but-
get an answer for one thing. Mr. Leclerc, thank you for being here tonight. Can we request another public hearing?
Another public hearing?
Well, it was approved in 1999, if I understand correctly. This is a... One second, please.
So this thing, this whole binder, right?
Yes, I looked through it.
Public hearing. So this is all an administrative vote? This is crazy.
Mr. Fuller, we are trying to get some answers.
No, I looked at it twice in here, and I went and looked at the property, and it's not even marked, there isn't even one of our zoning.
The subdivision approval is from 2014.
Planning.
The planned economic development was approved in 1999.
Right.
So the subdivision approval of the East Campus in 2014 is what covers this application.
So we approved it in
So it'd be
2014?
Planning
Correct.
that approved it, because that's subdivision.
What's that?
So it went to the planning commission. They're the ones that handle a subdivision.
Correct.
Okay. This is unusual because usually you don't see like a planning subdivision go to planning. There is no zoning public hearing, and then the zoning gets to CAM. We saw it once before for a much smaller, it might have been Commissioner Posner and Commissioner Phillips' first meeting, I believe, where we had a CAM that had no zoning public hearing. But that's a red flag for me. I'm glad planning had a review on it. I know subdivisions usually require a public hearing from a planning standpoint, but this is a lot to ask zoning to digest on a CAM. That's the binder is 3 inches thick. It has a table of contents, and we're talking 130,000 square feet of warehouse and shipping in a title plat.
I happen to agree with Commissioner Posner. I looked through this twice. I went down there and looked at the property. We had nobody, granted, there's a gentleman, it seems like it's in the audience.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we'd have to open up, cancel out, and do
No.
everything, and have him if he's
No.
somebody. But we don't have anybody here and this is huge.
Let's do this, before we proceed that. What is your name, sir? Oh, Mr.
Madam-
Casey, I didn't recognize you.
Madam Chair,
Thank
I'll
you, Ned.
waive the rules to allow Mr. Casey to speak.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second it.
Second by Ms. Giuliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes yes, motion passes. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you very much for opening up the microphone for myself. I'm James Casey. I've worked here for 30 years. I'm the president of Stratford Development. I was responsible for the FedEx monstrosity. Let me help you understand. We had, in 1998, spent 30 years permitting this site. It was part of a 700-acre site. That's why you got the binder. Also approved in 1998 was the fact that we set aside 440 acres of tidal wetlands as part of the Stuart McKinney National Wildlife Refuge, in addition to which we agreed to go out on the Stuart McKinney National Wildlife Refuge on the land that had been filled by the Army Corps of Engineers, as well as ourselves, and restore 42 acres of tidal wetlands at a very expensive cost. All that was done prior to building one building for one of the permits that we got so long ago in 1998. That permit allowed us to build the entire West Campus, 428,000 square feet, that currently house BE Aerospace, FedEx Ground, 200,000 feet of Starbucks tea, not coffee, and a pharmaceutical company. And I came in and I got one approval. It was called a general development plan. And if you look at the zoning regulations, once a PED is approved, you need to have 30 acres of contiguous land, which subsequently can be subdivided. When you come in and get a general development plan approved, a GDP, you're vested for life. Now, we did not vest since 1998. If you look carefully, in addition to the subdivision approval, which is shown, there's also a 530,000 square foot warehouse approved in 2013, which we did come in and have a public hearing for, which everybody in every department in this town, all the way to the Army Corps, the state, National Marine Fisheries, and the National Wildlife Refuge, had another round of review and approval of everything we proposed, and it was approved as submitted. Now, that 530,000 foot warehouse is a 42-acre development. Subsequently, we subdivided. We built 225,000 feet on 28 acres. We're asking for administrative review to continue developing Site 2, 137,700 feet. And what's remaining is Site 3, a little 2.3-acre site. And when you get done adding up all the buildings we could possibly build, the one that's constructed, the one we're asking for a review on tonight, and what would fit on the next building will be less than 530,000 feet. And the reason, you see, the ginormous retention pond is because we constructed all the drainage to the Army Corps and DEP satisfaction above every standard required for the 530,000 foot building. When we came back in and we modified that approval from 530,000 to 225, we built the same drainage plan. So that drainage plan is, again, expenditures ahead of construction so that there's no questions, no mishaps, and no problems proceeding to meet the market to deliver another building, hopefully for another customer. So I apologize that it wasn't so clear, but you guys have had a lot of transition here, and I understand that. You know, Gary Lorenzen was here for 30 years. Gary knew more about the PED than anybody, probably corrected me at more hearings on details, because he had to understand it. But if you want to look at that, that's what you'll see. But if you do look at the binder, by the way, the DEP's wrong too. We're not in a FEMA elevation 14, and we're not in a section of wave action. While I'm just getting everything out there, look at number 13.
Mr. Casey, if you can speak directly to the response on the CAM from the, have you received a letter?
All right, I was right there. Item 13 in what I handed you is a letter addressed to Well, myself. And there we are. The Honorable John Harkin. It's dated October 21st, 2013. In it, it describes the letter of map revision and what it actually did. And if you look at the last page of item 13, you'll see a very large black line surrounding the entire 42-acre East Campus with a Zone AE elevation 12 clearly designated. It even crosses Lordship Boulevard on a very odd angle. But it's the last page of section 13 in the binder I submitted. So the DEP's just looking at the FEMA map, but they didn't look at the superseded revised letter of map revision.
And hence the CAM plan before us tonight.
Pardon?
And that's the reason why you have the coastal area management plan before us tonight.
No, in order to come through and ask for administrative zoning review and approval, I still have to submit a CAM application
Yes, you do. Mr.
every time I
Casey,
come in.
the letter we received from the Energy and Environmental Protection dated September 21st, 2016, okay? Did you receive a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay. In that letter that Mr. Hibansky just read into the record, it made some recommendations. Are these recommendations consistent with the plan that you are presenting or that we are approving?
First of all, she's incorrect. So most of her recommendations don't even have jurisdiction. You can't build to an elevation 16 standard if you're not required to. Her statement, if you look at it, says that this site is an elevation 14 and that you need a foot of freeboard, and because of this or that, you need to build at elevation 16. She's incorrect. This isn't a FEMA elevation 14 flood zone. It's a FEMA elevation 12 flood zone, and our proposal is to build at elevation 14, 2 feet above the requirement.
Okay.
So my point is, you already have documentation on the record that disputes her error.
Her error. So that is one of the points of contention, is that they's come back. The other part that she has here, the stormwater from the site is proposed to be discharged to an existing on-site retention pond, which you've just talked about, to maximize the infiltration of the stormwater. While the percentage of the impervious surface has not been identified on the site plan, it appears that most of the site will be impervious surface, either the building itself or the parking lot. So do you have any other issues as far as how the water, I'm just reading, if possible, the proposed black-topped area on the west side should be reduced. That's the part I'm getting to. Her recommendation is that the blacktop area on the west side should be reduced in width to the minimum required for safety and convenience.
It can't be done, and it's part of the function of the property. It's just like every building we constructed on the West Campus. It's required, you need so many feet to load with tractor trailers and be able to pull trucks out next to trucks. So there's no way to lower it, but I will tell you, all the data of the site plan is on the site plan. It talks about impervious area. We're well below the zoning standards, which, by the way, this is a coastal industrial district. It's got the lowest impervious of any of the industrial districts. It's right next to the MB district, separated by an imaginary line. On one side of it, you can have 50% building and 80% impervious, and we are only allowed to have 30% building and 70% impervious, and we're well within that standard.
Okay, these are just recommendations. The last thing that I see here is the silt fencing and the anti-tracking pad should be installed before any site disturbance occurs.
I agree with that always, 100%.
Okay. For the commission's sake, these are recommendations, they're not requirements. They're there, these are comments that are presented to us for consideration to ask the applicant. It is up to us to decide whether or not we want to make them a requirement or not. And Mr. Casey, that's what I was going through, was to get those answers. Are there any questions that you all might have? Are there any questions you might have of Mr. Casey?
We don't see this often at the administrative level. You never see this at the administrative level. This is a lot for a commission to look at administratively, even though CAMs are by nature administrative votes. I just feel, no, it's
Mr.
like,
Fuller,
you
this,
can't just drop this on commissioners on one night and just expect,
I,
you know.
I do have some more to at least Mr. Bansky was bringing me up to date. This has been reviewed by the planning and zoning staff extensively.
But where's
Mr.
the public
Lawrenson was just in, Mr. Lawrenson had just reviewed this yesterday and gave his blessing to the plan.
Last Friday.
I'm sorry, last Friday to be
I'm sorry,
exact.
could you look at number 10 in the book? Because I understand you, I'm not at all disturbed with where you are, because you don't know anything about this. But if you look at number 10, April 10th, 2013, Board of Zoning Appeals and the Zoning Commission, site plan review, 530,000-foot warehouse. Do you imagine, they looked at the 42-acre development in total in one application. So they looked at an undeveloped 42-acre site surrounded by the Stuart McKinney National Wildlife Refuge and a 530,000-foot building being proposed. And it went through the due process, and there's the letter issuing the approval. So if you accept that premise that it got thoroughly vetted, and then you back off, and I came through and got Lot 1 developed as 225,000 feet under this same rule administratively, full set of plans, everything, DEP CAM comments, etc. I'm just coming back nibbling for 137,000, and in that context is why I'm just trying to make it clear that we've been through a lot. You just unfortunately haven't been part of it.
Well, yeah, thank you for offending the commission, too. But the follow-up question is, in 2014, there was a subdivision for this particular section that you're looking for, a subdivision from the Planning Commission, that was also approved, and now you're coming back here for us for the final CAM for that 137 and change.
Well, it was a 3-lot subdivision, so when the first subdivision went through, we immediately followed up with Site 1's development plan that came through, and yes, coming back for Lot 2's development plan, correct.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand the whole chronology of the process here. So 2013, Board of Zoning Appeals and the Zoning Commission, which none of us were a member of at the time, because they were completely different elected officials at that time, gave you the approval for the whole area.
Full development,
Yeah.
maximum everything.
So maximum, that was the, I forget the acronym, but it was the full planning, the full build-out. And then you're coming, and then you've come before planning for various subdivisions in the interim at that time. And now this subdivision that you're before us now requires a CAM.
The only thing that requires the CCM is the fact that in order to go through a zoning application, it's always a required submittal.
It's just, I take public involvement very seriously. I'm elected by the people, just as everybody else here is elected by people in their district. A lot of this is very technical, very big, very complex. I think it's a good thing for the town when it's really done right.
Then you can deny it.
Yeah. I'm not saying we should or should not deny it, but I'm just saying this is,
zoning
when we see
regulations-
these big things come before different commissions at different points in time, it really kind of disrupts the flow of public transparency.
I've constructed 640,000 feet with every zoning, planning, inland wetland administrator since 1987. This will be the first time I didn't get an approval.
And talk to the people of Lordship and see how they like FedEx, too. It destroyed a coastline.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Mr. Fuller, let's not go off into that direction.
Are you
Folks,
voting against the FedEx project?
Mr. Casey, let's hold it there, please. All right, here's where we're at. This is the process. It is an administrative review. This is where it belongs. This is a big project, and I think it was summarized well. It has taken many years to bring it to this point. Different boards and commissions of different compulations have been a part of this. But for us at this point, not to trust our predecessors in their decision and start the process over again, I think would be leaving us open to more possible legal or inconsistencies.
If you want to do it at your next administrative session, I'll be happy to sit and be patient and wait. I don't like people threatening me, and I don't like pressure, and I don't want anybody giving me what I don't deserve.
I don't think that is what we're trying to do.
I don't mean you, but I don't need one commissioner upset that I'm trying to get something he doesn't think I deserve. Take another week or two, put it on your next administrative calendar. Very happy to wait and let you talk it all out.
No,
Do the right thing.
I feel comfortable voting tonight. And I trust the predecessors.
Well, I appreciate that.
The reason we have a CAM review is so that we could get information back. We've got the letter. We've asked Mr. Casey to respond to some of those comments. He has. And it's up to us now to feel comfortable enough that he has answered those questions well enough and that we can proceed. So I'd like to call a vote at this point unless there's any objection.
Attorney Leclerc, question for you. What would be the process of the commission right now if we wanted to send this to a public hearing? Is that possible? And what would be the process that we have to go through right now to do that? I'd like, if you can answer that.
I'm not positive that I have an answer for that right now. Just doing some research on that issue to see whether we have the right to do that.
And I don't know either, to be totally honest with you. I mean, and
Well, that's something that's been brought to the table now about a public hearing, and until I have that answer, I don't know if I could vote on this.
So maybe
okay.
you should take no action. I think we're saying that you have just a citizen, perhaps you should take no action, table this matter, and then we'll have an answer for you at that time.
Is that critical to you to make a decision, Mr. Posner?
I'm sorry, repeat that again?
Having an answer is critical to your decision tonight?
Yes, I'd like that answer before I made a decision tonight.
Okay. Ms. Peppin, your opinion?
Yeah, I would like to have that answer.
Okay. Mr. Giuliano?
For tonight? Or what do you want to do?
The question is getting an answer from the town attorney, whether or
Let this
not,
go for another couple of weeks till we...
do we find out whether or not there's a public hearing that can be requested?
Yeah, I just, it's a beautiful thing, and the thing is, this should have been, with all due respect, Mr. Casey, and I thank you for you stepping up like that. I wish somebody made a comment earlier about this, or sent us a memo that said, hey, this is the CAM for there, this has been, you get
Madam
this.
Chair, I'm serious. I have no at all hesitation to walk away and let you guys put this on your agenda next time. Let me tell you what the inland wetland people did. I have a permit that was issued for the entire site, 530,000 feet. One big permit. It did everything it was supposed to. Whatever was needed, we agreed to. Same with planning, zoning, comments. We got that approved. Then the deal fell apart. The company didn't want the building. We found somebody that did want something smaller. So that's how it evolved. It's not just, we just don't know what we're doing. Sometimes we don't. But here's what inland wetland did. I was before them last week. They read into the record. The permit was issued. Everything was looked at. No public hearing. They're going to act on it at their next regular meeting. And that was based on town attorney's direction that the inland wetland folks had gotten the last time this came through. So it's clearly valid concern. It's clearly legitimate. I don't want to see anybody vote on something where it's just going to turn a great relationship into one of, we don't know what to expect from each other.
And I think Mr. Fuller had said the same thing as well. So at this point, and I think the area is that I'm hearing, if I'm saying this right, we would like a little more time to be educated and brought up to speed, and we can get an answer for a public hearing in the meantime as well. So I'd like to get a motion to table this, please.
A motion to the table.
Let's second it.
I agree.
Second by
We
Ms.
need the
Peppin.
history.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. We have a second CAM on the agenda, 900 Access Road. Thank you. Mr. Fuller?
You need me to take a motion to take it off the table, or open for discussion?
It wasn't actually, I don't think it's actually on the table, but,
Actually, I don't think it's on the table, but...
not on- yeah, it's
I'd
not
like-
on the table. We
uh,
can just
be-
discuss it.
I'll make a motion to approve this. We heard a lot during public hearing about what the sort of coastal impacts and benefits and, pitfalls that might happen with this plan. I think they did a pretty thorough job in in explaining that part. This is a pretty rudimentary procedural matter after a public hearing.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Peppin. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes. Anyone oppose? Motion passes. Thank you. 5-0. Okay. All right. The next item, number 4, zoning enforcement study. We had a draft letter by Mr. Posner regarding exit 32 traffic concerns. You want to bring us up to date?
I will have that letter drafted and given to the zoning office, to Jay Hibansky, before mid-October. And then I guess he can distribute it to all the commissioners, if he could.
Accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any accessory apartment applications? I don't think there is any.
No.
Sediment and erosion control applications? Nothing new?
No.
Planning projects, Greenway, Ms. Peppin.
Greenway, we are meeting on October 5th to finalize our conceptual plan and then move on.
Thank
We're
you very
working
much.
on that.
Okay, then we'll have an update at that point. Before we go into goal settings, there was a letter that was on our desk that I wanted to review. Where'd it go? We had asked Mr. Floric to provide some answers to us about consultants, and I didn't have a chance to read it yet.
We actually have 2 items. Another was submitted by Attorney Floric right as the meeting had started regarding Commissioner Posner's request for a town attorney's opinion on conflicts of interest, so I have that as well.
Want to take us through it? I'm trying to
Well, it's lengthy, so I'm
summarize it.
I haven't even had a chance to read it. I've been focusing on all this other stuff going on. It was literally handed to me as
we walked in, I know.
as I sat down. So I wanted to give a copy to the chairman as well as to Commissioner Posner, and then I was going to keep one for my office, and then I can scan that. I can scan this and send it out to everybody so that everyone gets a copy.
Why don't we save it for the next meeting to discuss? I'm going to make this kind of quick. Under goal settings, 1 through 6. And I'm going to pick up number 6. The next meeting that we are going to have is going to be October 25th, because October 11th is a Jewish holiday, and all town meetings, from what I can tell, have been canceled. On October 25th, and I think I've emailed everyone, at 6 o'clock, we said? 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, Mr. Urbanski, in these chambers, will be available to have, we'll have an administrative session. Mr. Urbanski will walk us through the TOD regulations specifically on mixed use. It will be for us to ask questions and understand the regulations. Not an interrogation, it's a discussion. We're not voting, it's an educational session. So I'm asking if you're interested to come prepared with questions on the TOD so that we can learn and understand better some of the myths, truths, and anything else that we want to know.
Now, that's open to the public too, or no?
The public is always welcome to come and listen to us, but the questions are going to be directed for these commissioners.
Okay.
And I mean, the discussion on me walking you through what the mixed-use parameters are for the TOD, they're going to be brief because there isn't a whole lot to really discuss. So I'll give a quick overview, and then any questions, concerns, things, whatever you guys have, I'll be happy to answer.
That's impossible for me to make. I work till 6 o'clock sometimes, or I'm commuting from work to 6 o'clock at sometimes. Is it possible to have kind of a bullet point summary of some of the main points you're going to address, or?
I don't know, like I said, I don't know what questions are going to be asked. The overview,
Mr. Fuller, how about this for an idea? We're going to meet, and then we'll have the public hearing, and then we're coming back to an administrative session. why don't we give you an opportunity, if you have some questions at that point when we come back to administrative sessions, for you to ask?
Oh, I'll submit them by email.
Okay. But even so, if you,
yeah.
and you always, of course, have the opportunity to talk to Mr. Bansky offline. The public is welcome. I know there's a number of people who are going to be interested in hearing some of our thoughts and questions, so everyone is invited, but the questions are going to be for the commissioners. Okay? That's just all I have for number 6. Anybody have anything else that they want to bring up and discuss?
I'll be very brief on one of the items for number 3. Medical marijuana, I emailed both you and Administrator Hibansky the previous draft amendments. What it did well is looking at Shelton and Newington's regulations back in 2013, 2014, and 2015. Signage, space, parking requirements, marketing. What it doesn't necessarily do is, one thing I would like, if we move forward on this, is to look at what sort of zones would this be appropriate. And then the second thing is, I talked to one of the planning alternates last night. I happened to run into him, John Sturmer, and he's interested in serving on that committee.
Oh, okay.
And he's very interested in finding ways of, if we are going to have it, what sort of land use manifestation should it take?
Those are good questions. I wrote a letter to Commissioner Chairman Salhavi, and at that time there were only two planning people, Mr. Watson and Ms. Bertusky. Now there's a third, which is fine, asking for his agreeance to have them serve on a task force, and he wrote me back asking more questions. So he and I have to have another chat. But we're proceeding forward. I believe if Mr. Posner or Mr. Fuller, if you're ready to have a meeting, at least of the task force to get started, I can give Mr. Salhavi a specific date that he can work with, and we can get this moving.
I think this goes to one of the letters that was submitted to us tonight about hiring consultants. We also would have to hire a secretary for that meeting, a recording secretary, and that's at least $100 per meeting to have the official. There's some sort of FOIA rule that we have to pay the secretary in order to make sure the minutes and agendas get done. So I don't even know the process to even what sort of authority we have to even allocate that money.
I don't think you need a secretary to actually do it. I think you guys can keep your own minutes as long as it's being recorded.
Is that FOIA compatible?
Mr. Gluckart?
Yeah, the Freedom of Information Act doesn't require you to hire a professional or a secretary to keep your minutes. It merely requires that agendas be posted and that at a certain time prior to meetings, and that minutes be prepared, adopted, and then posted
And then
as well.
within the appropriate time frame to post and.
That's absolutely correct. But there's no requirement as to who does that. Some groups can use their own people. A number of towns will have their own people. If it's a committee of a whole council or something, they may just have their own people be the secretaries.
Okay, that's good to know. So we don't necessarily have to pay a secretary to conduct some sort of subcommittee.
No, you just have to get someone willing to be the secretary.
There lies another question too. So there's another ring in the ladder. Who would be secretary?
If we tape the meeting, would that be sufficient?
No,
You have to have a document
you have to have
of
written minutes.
I mean, I
Okay.
could, worst case scenario, I could.
Well, minutes don't have to be, it's a common misperception that minutes are like a transcribed, detailed accounting of everything, like a deposition. Minutes, they just have to basically show the attendance, the items that were considered, who moved the items, and the votes on the items, and how people voted. You don't need to go into intricate detail and intimate detail in them. It could be that, Mr. Smith moved an item, seconded by Mr. Jones, a discussion ensued. The vote was all in favor, none opposed, and the people that were voting. So they could be brief like that. But you don't need to show every item that was discussed by everyone and who said what necessarily.
That's a good point.
Okay, looks
All
like
right.
Someone's got a lot more homework.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about Mr. Fuller, Mr. Posner. We'll talk to see how this is.
Before the regulation at this point.
And maybe we'll have some circulation. Okay, is there any other items that we want to discuss? Otherwise, I'll ask for an adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Peppin, second by Mr. Posner. All in favor?
10:55,
10:55.
10:50.
Chair votes yes. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.